Greetings, Patrick here. It's time for Dollar Theater, the Voters Edition. All right. So, this is the last week of action and adventure, August. We put out some adventure films for you guys to watch and vote on, and then for me and the Cheetah, and then we would talk about them. So, this week was really, really close. Not too many votes. Not too many votes. In fact, I was a little surprised how little there was, actually. But it ended up in a tie with A Man on the Ledge and Hidalgo. So I left it up for the Cheetah to pick our winner. And, of course, I'm not really surprised by this, though cats do love jumping from high heights. But Paladin decided to go with 2004's Hidalgo, about a horse. Wow. I haven't seen this movie in a while. I picked it up at my local library, and I've never seen this at the theater, and really enjoyed it. Viggo Mortensen was just coming off Lord of the Rings, and so this was really, he was, basically the golden boy for after Return of the King, and so he did Hidalgo. And, wow, glad he did, too, because this is more him, this is another, he likes doing cowboy movies. He's done a few of his cowboy movies and Western films, and so Hidalgo is based on a true story. It all depends who you believe on this. I'm tending to believe in the director and the screenwriter, who did a lot of research on this, and there's some people who think that Frank Hopkins, who plays, who Viggo Mortensen plays as the main character, embellishes stories, or they were hoaxes. You know what? I think I just don't, and they did research. It all depends what you believe. I tend to believe the story that it happened. And so it's an interesting movie based on that. Even if it wasn't, it's still a very interesting story. Very original story, and I really like that a lot, to tell you the truth. So this film was directed by Joe Johnston, written by John Fusco, who has written a lot about Native Americans. In fact, he has been named an honorary tribe member in a few tribes. And so he's the one that wrote the story. So Viggo Mortensen plays Frank T. Hopkins. And in 1890, he is a scout, a dispatch writer for the Express and also for the military, and so he's used to pass on. Well, first we see him, and he's doing a race. He liked to race this horse against long rides, like they would do, like hundreds of miles of racing, and so. So when the movie opens up, we see that's what's happening. Frank and Hidalgo are racing, and they beat another rider. And the guy goes inside a bar afterwards, and he insults not only Frank, but he insults Hidalgo. And Frank goes, well, you can say whatever you want from me, but I'm going to have to ask you not to talk shit about my horse. Well, the guy runs his lip a little bit more, and he squares up. And so Frank, sits him down. Tosses a coin in the air, and then the guy looks up, he goes nighty-night. So, and we see that he's also a dispatch rider for, like I said, the Pony Express, and also for the military. And he is dispatched to give orders to the army at Wounded Knee, where the Sioux were going to be given up, or the Lakota were going to be giving up. Yeah, this is a horrible, horrible historical event. And it turns out that Frank is actually half white and he's half Lakota Sioux, and he some of the soldiers you see are really nervous around what's going on because they don't understand the language, and he does, and he says they're not uprising, they're just praying to their ghost spirits, they're asking for help. And as Frank turns and rides away, we see that a soldier grabs an Indian's rifle, and he doesn't know that the Indian is deaf. He thinks that he's resisting him. And so as they're fighting over the rifle, it goes off, and that starts the massacre at Wounded Knee. Frank goes back, because his horse actually turns back. Hidalgo turns him around, and then he hears the gunfire and he rides back. But by the time he gets there, it's too late. There's hundreds of people are dead. I have to see how many died at Wounded Knee, but quite a few. So he is actually destroyed by guilt, and he joins the Wild Bill Cody show, and but you can see that his life is just he's just a mess. And there's a chief there that talks to him, a Lakota chief, and he asked Frank to speak on his behalf to Wild Bill Cody if they could help him get some horses, because the Indian they're starving, they have no land left. It's just a horrible situation for them. But the chief still feels that Wild Bill Cody has pull, and the only thing Wild Bill could do is give the man a single horse. So Frank lies and says that Wild Bill will do whatever he can to help the people, but it's just destroying them from the inside. It's killing them. Well, anyway, his reputation as a long distance champion reaches Saudi Arabia, and so a delegation from there come to America, and they find Frank, and they're going like, "We hear you're the best long runner, long distance racer. We want to, our sheikh wants to challenge you." And he says, "Okay." And he goes, "Well, what kind of horse do you have?" He says, "I ride a mustang." Well, a mustang is it's not a purebred. It's it's like a house cat. Could be multiple type of a cat inside one cat, and so that's what Hidalgo is. He's sort of like he's a horse, but he sort of has that. You don't know exactly what breed that is that created him, but he's a very handsome horse, and he's extremely quick. And so, but the Arabs, the Saudi Arabians are I don't know Saudi Arabians, but that's what I'm calling them, right? So, well, they're curious. They're curious on one hand, and they're insulted because they ride the purest horses, the Bedouin, the Arabian horse, and the Bedouin horse, and it's supposed to be just like they're supposed to be like the very best in the world. So, but this guy has ridden and won so many races that there's got to be something to it. So they challenge him to come over and race in called the Ocean of Fire, which is a 3,000-mile race through the desert. 3,000 miles through the desert. So, and the prize is the price to enter is $1,000, and the prize is $100,000. So Frank's friends to help him out, because they see that unless something jars him soon, he's going to just destroy himself. He's going to drink himself to death. So Andy Oakley leads the way, and helps raise the money for the entry fee. And so Frank's on a ship, and he's on his way to the race, and there he meets Lady Davenport, played by Louise Lombard, and Malcolm McDowell plays her husband, and she's a horse breeder. Lady Ann Davenport is a horse breeder, and she's going over there to showcase her horse. All throughout, they're always making snide comments about Hidalgo, like because he's a mutt. As everybody knows, though, mutts are a much more hardier breed than a purebred. A purebred is purebred, but they get sick easier. They're more susceptible to those kind of illnesses, deformities. When you get a mutt, you get the best of everything. You get the best of all the animals in there, and that's really what it is with Hidalgo. He's got incredible stamina. He's faster. He can go longer. He's just. I don't know. It's like I guess like comparison. Like I said, a comparison to. It's just a great horse. It's just and he's. But everybody keeps picking on it, and it's a little bit smaller too. It is a little bit smaller of a horse, but it can fly. So they get over to the race, and they meet the sheikh, played by Omar Sharif. And first they're talking and they're friendly, and things seem to be going well. They're getting ready for the race, but the sheikh's daughter is talking to Frank about giving him some tips on how to survive out there. Well, she is single. She should not be alone with a different man, with a man in the room. So that's what happens. Frank doesn't know any better, but it looks like he's going to be gelded when he's able to distract that, to throw it off the track by going to tell some Western stories, because the sheikh's fascinated by it. And so as that's going to start to happen, the sheikh's one of his nephews, an evil nephew, rides in and causes all sorts of havoc and kidnaps the sheikh's daughter, Jazeera. So Frank goes in there and rescues her, and along with Jazeera's personal bodyguard. And she goes and he goes and rescues her. The guard gives up his life to save her, so he brings her back to the sheikh. Frank does, and after all that, and a last-minute seductions by Lady Davenport, who wants Frank to drop out because she realizes there is a slight chance, very slight chance, but still a slight chance, that his horse could win. And if it does, it'll cost her, because she's trying to breed her mare with the sheikh's top of the line horse. She's trying to make a deal of her own. If her horse doesn't win, then he might not see her horse as a viable candidate, and that would be devastating to her. So she tries to get Frank to drop out with $30,000 and then maybe a little bit of fun. But Frank's not having any of that. He's like, I'll sleep on it, but he's not sleeping on anything. So the race starts. It is true. They all start and they all burst out of there running like hell, running like fire. There are fires right after them. And, they're all sprinting. It's all for a good show. They're in a desert. There's 3,000 miles. Why are you running your horses but it's for show. It's for the sheik. Hey, look at us. We're all going to try hard to run out there. But then they slowly start walking, and nobody gives Frank any credit at first. They don't think his horse is going to last, and it's sort of an abomination that he's in there and all that. And, people are, talking to him, but he's just, him and Hidalgo are just, they're still there. Every morning they wake up, there's Frank. And of course they go through all sorts of obstacles. The evil nephew is up to shenanigans. We find out that he actually is tied to Lady Davenport, and she turns out to be quite wicked, actually. She is not a nice person at all. Beautiful to look at, but, sort of like a brown violin spider, It's like, yeah, beautiful to look at, but I'm not going to touch that. And he runs across various things, but he uses the tips from Jazeera to help him and Hidalgo survive. When the locusts come, they find out that they can live on the locust, because they can eat that, and they can eat it, and they're also liquid, so they can drink. So of course they're doing all sorts of action and adventure, and the evil nephew comes up with a tremendous trap. I have to admit, this trap was really, he comes up with a tremendous trap, and then he unleashes, it causes Hidalgo and Frank to fall into a pit. And another rider named Sakir, who Frank had saved his life, he in turn saves Frank's life and help get Hidalgo out of this nasty trap. But unfortunately, he too is sacrificed. He sacrifices his life, and but Frank's not having any of that. He wants it. He wants revenge, and he gets it. He gets his revenge. So now they're down to but Hidalgo's been really hurt, so it's almost he's almost thinking about, well, maybe I should just put him out of his misery. But after having a vision quest, his ancestors are saying, "Don't give up quite yet. Just hang in there." And then Hidalgo, miraculously, he stands up, and Frank stands up, and then the last two horses are running by, and so him and Hidalgo get out there, and every time a horse is seen at the finish line, there's a bell rung. So first the bell rings, and we find out it's the sheikh's horse. He's in first place. And then another bell rings, and it's Lady Davenport's mare right behind him. And so, she's running her heart out. And then at the very last, you hear this ding, 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 and it's like, it's the cowboy, it's the cowboy. And Hidalgo, he shows why he has a lot of heart. And then there's some ending stuff that you could guess where this is going, obviously, right? So I'm not, the movie's 21 years old, so I'm not too worried about spoiler parts. But I will say that, wow, I haven't seen this movie for a while, and I forgot how good it is. I also forgot how long it is. This is a long movie. This is 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I'm of a mixed emotion about this as far as that goes. I like this movie a lot, and there's part of me that says, boy, this movie could have been really faster paced if they would have took off for 30 minutes of the movie. But I'm glad they didn't. Yes, the actual horse race scenes are not very many in comparison to the film itself, but it works. This movie works. This movie works on two levels. As an athletic event, as a race, but also behind the scenes, like stopping the evil nephew and rescuing the sheik's daughter and watching those two come together with a sign of respect. That part is all important as well. The scene where Frank uses his prize money. He knows what he's going to do with the prize money, and what he does with it, and the last gesture of love for his horse. This is a great movie. It really is. Now, it was made for $100 million, and only made $108 million. That $100 million, yeah, I sort of believe that. I'm pretty pessimistic when it comes down when studios announce how much money it costs to make a movie. A lot of those times, those numbers are so inflated. I think half the time they announce those numbers to intimidate the actors, to sit there and say, yeah, we made this film for $100 million, but we only got 108 back, so we can't give you anything bonus other than what you initially got paid for. A lot of times these movies are not they're not truthful as far as their budgets go. This movie, I believe it. I believe this this is a very lush and exotic movie, and it's a really good movie, and had a great cast. Like I said, a strong cast. Even though Malcolm McDowell was only in it for one scene, but Louise Lombard, she was great. She's done tremendous work. Of course, Viggo Mortensen will forever be Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. And he also did History of Violence too, which is another top-notch movie. Peter Mensah, who played the bodyguard to Jazeera, the princess. I forgot that he was in this movie. He was awesome. His character was my second favorite after Frank. And the sheikh, played by Omar Sharif, was my third favorite character. But he was awesome, and his scene to rescue his charge, the sheikh's daughter, it's exciting as hell. And you really do feel bad when he does what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to lay down his life, and he does. But I tell you one thing, he sure as hell didn't go alone. He was actually played a envoy in 300. So he's the one that says, this is madness. And then Leonidas kicks him into the pit. That's Peter Mensah. And I thought about that while I was watching him, watching the scene where he's basically in Leonidas, and he's facing off against 20 guys by himself and kicking ass. It was like, that's like a mini 300 right here. Well-made movie. The photograph is beautiful. Everything was practical. Those traps that they had were wicked. And like I said, the ending's top notch. Exciting. Now, this movie, there's one thing I will say about this one is it came out in 2004. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of special features on here. There's two. There is a it shows it shows the behind the scenes where Hidalgo came from, his bloodline, because he's part Spanish, so they chase his bloodline. And then there's a making of featurette as well. I'm glad Paladin picked this. Well, you guys picked it too, but as far as the tiebreaker goes, I'm glad he picked this one. This was great, and I enjoyed reviewing it. All right, if you've seen Hidalgo, drop a comment down below. Wow. One of these days, I'm going to get these reviews under 20 minutes. Yeah, this is what can I say? If you want to leave a comment down below, let us know what you thought about the movie, your favorite moments, if you've ever seen it before. Are you a horse person? Drop a comment down below. Let me know. And we got the next 4 coming up. And I think we're going to be staying in the Middle East for at least one of those movies. So, but we'll see what you think about that, if you pick it or not. We'll be back here next Friday talking about it. All right, thanks so much. If you're new to the channel, please consider subbing. I'm trying to get to 1,700 by the end of the year. I know that sounds like, wow, you know, I got 1,689. I only need 11, but you know what? It'll take me probably 3 months to get those. But if you want to sub to the channel, that'd be great. Hit the like button and hit the notification bell whenever it'll let you know whenever we go put one of these out. And I do premieres on. Oh no, actually I don't do premieres on these, but I put these out every Friday. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.